Neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
Welcome in, everybody, on this Thursday afternoon, Southeast Sports Plus. A lot to get to. Breaking news as the NCAA has approved a single portal window. Of course, we know that there was the calendar has been complained about at every single level, but most especially at the college level, high school level. There's this the speeding up the calendar and really getting no break during the holiday time and just the back-to-back bowl games and all that stuff. So the NCAA officially agrees to one portal window, Gerhard, and we will discuss that in deeper depth as we move forward onto the show. So welcome everybody. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick behind the scenes joining you for a jam-packed Thursday as we roll into week 4 of the college football season. We have a great lineup across Nexstar Nation today on the show. Looking forward to these guys, G.
Yeah, David Edelstein will join us here momentarily from Jackson, previewing that big Ole Miss Tulane game. We'll also speak with our buddy Holden, as well as Scott Griffin out of Birmingham, the Holden Cruzmark out of Oklahoma City, previewing that huge matchup between Auburn and the Sooners. And Scott Griffin will talk a little bit of UAB and their big matchup against Tennessee this week. So a great guest lineup, as you said.
Yeah, it definitely is. And without further ado, we are going to head over to Jackson, Mississippi to check in with the sports director there, David Edelstein, joining us. Good afternoon, sir. How are you? I know it's been a very busy time holding it down with not only Mississippi State, but also the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talk about Ole Miss all the time because obviously they've got high expectations there, but Mississippi State's been a little bit of a buzzword over here again. The cowbells maybe are ringing in our ears again. So all is well. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, David. We appreciate your time, sir. There was a talk, at least throughout our show on Southeast Sports Plus, when we went through the SEC Media Days, and Lane Kiffin was just sneakishly quiet. And I think that some people, Brian Holland from our Baton Rouge location, said, you know Ole Miss is going to be decent. You know that Lane Kiffin has something up his sleeve if he doesn't have a whole lot to say or a whole lot to show necessarily. There's something that's going to happen there in Oxford. How do you feel about where this team sits right now as they gear up for another big week?
I think that's an accurate description. I know we've talked about that a few times on this show, and even some of the press conference questions and answers this week when Lane Kiffin gives a long answer versus a short one, there's actually a lot unsaid. And said in those silences. I'm feeling pretty great, and I think Ole Miss should too. You know, from the Rebels' perspective, they've won 13 in a row against Tulane, and that includes as Tulane has been a ranked team in recent years down in New Orleans. So there's a lot that this team has to look forward to. I actually think the bigger questions right now that are coming up in people's minds as you're viewing this team, it's less about what the actual result of this game is going to be. Not that anything's ever secured. But the question now is they have two great quarterbacks, and what do you do about that? Because Austin Simmons gets injured. Then there's the whole kind of little controversy for a second there about, is he going to play? Is he not? He's available. And then Kiffin goes, he was available, and he did play. But guess what? Basically, the D2 Heisman winner essentially shows up in Chambliss and has an incredible game. Yeah, get those stats up there, because he shows up, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second. Who do we go with next? And Lane Kiffin did address that this week heading into the game. But it's good to know you have depth. But now you almost have like an in-season quarterback competition going on, both exciting and in some ways, I don't know if concerning is the right word, because one of them has to be benched. And, you know, you just kind of have that potential sitting there. So, but that's a really good position to be in, obviously, to have two star guys. That's where I think the main focus is right now. Everything else kind of seems pretty secured heading into the Tulane game. It's a home game for Ole Miss. I'm not expecting anything too crazy, except for maybe, of course, a few Lane Kiffin play calls every once in a while.
Always.
No question. It seemed like Lane Kiffin is pretty confident that Austin Simmons can go this week. But considering how well Chambliss played, do you think that that's actually true? Or is this Lane doing a little gamesmanship to make sure Tulane has to prep for both guys?
Well, do you guys have that soundbite ready to play? I mean, he was so quick about it this week.
Patrick's working on it right now. That's certainly something
no worries.
That's interesting. We got to you a little bit earlier, which we're glad, David. You always do a great job, and appreciate all of your diligence when it comes to these two teams. And, they always say, like, when you have like two starters, you don't have a starter or whatever the name of the game is there. I mean, Lane Kiffin is certainly the quarterback guru. And this is a guy offensively who rarely makes mistakes when it comes to just what personnel. I mean, of course, play calls, things like that, go either way, whatever. But it seems as though if you're Lane Kiffin, like you said, it could eventually be a problem down the road because someone might dip. I mean, yeah, when you were talking about what the NIL looks like and the portal and everything, and that's how we opened the show, talking about the portal. And, I mean, that's certainly part of the name of the game right now.
Well, let me give you that soundbite is the point, and because I could do it because this is how quick it was to your point. He says, yeah, Austin's doing fine. I expect him to be the starting quarterback this week. So when something's that short after much, much longer and more in-depth thoughts where you see him thinking, it's kind of like a little bit of pursed lips there, right? Like, okay, so that's the answer. Austin Simmons is expected to be the starting quarterback. I would have expected that too. If he's healthy enough, go back to him. But, when you see Chambliss perform so well against Arkansas, you wonder, hey, do we want to just roll with him and see what happens? They got both guys. Maybe they'll both play roles, which is the good part. But, there's definitely more conversation going on behind the scenes when Lane Kiffin gives you the shortest answer possible.
It's
true. We've already seen South Florida beat Florida. We're going to see this week Tulane play an American school. We're going to see Memphis play an American school as well. Do you think there's any cautionary tales from what happened in the swamp from Lane Kiffin about this game? Because, I mean, if you just look at the Vegas line, it says that, hey, they're giving Tulane a shot at least to upset them. Is there any of that, or is it just, next foot ahead, considering the fact that you have a big SEC game the week after Tulane and this one kind of being a trap game, so to speak, on paper?
Right. Yeah. I think if you spoke with Lane Kiffin and the players, the coaching staff, they're just looking at it like it's the next game. And that's the most cliche thing you could ever say. But covering this team, I really feel like it's one of them that does that, because I look back to last year where they had to take it one game at a time after they lost that first game to Kentucky in SEC play. And really their season was so much on the lines as that razor thin margin for making the postseason. And then, they go on to beat teams like Georgia because they're just focused on what's ahead. Like I said, they've won 13 in a row against Tulane. That the past doesn't determine the present, but I think that a really good Tulane team will give them a challenge. But I do think that it is something that they're prepared for. It should be a good game. I think the Arkansas game and the Kentucky game were probably a little more intense, just due to the nature of some of the personnel. But I'm not underestimating Tulane. I know that they're not either, and that's why they'll, in my opinion, probably do pretty well on Saturday, because they're not just going to go in there thinking, oh, Tulane, whatever. Like they know they've played them a lot, and they've played them a lot recently, as a ranked team even too. So they're not out of the conversation for sure. But I do think Ole Miss can be confident and going in there, especially with two quarterbacks and other people who have now performed well enough already to see that the team is, maybe not clicking on all cylinders yet. It's still early in the year, but they're pretty close to what they'd want. It's just about, does the game plan against Tulane work in this particular day, and how do you adjust? Right. And I think they'll get it done again.
Right, and you mentioned the point that I was going to bring up, not clicking on all cylinders, because one of them is defensively. Obviously, gave up 35 last week to Arkansas, and now playing a Tulane team that can put up some points as well. What do you make of the defense so far from the Rebels? Is it a concern, or is it just kind of a one-off from last week?
I don't know if it's necessarily a concern. I think there's a lot of learning that has to go on. Ole Miss has continually been an offensive powerhouse, and they do just enough, right? At the end of the game for Arkansas, they finally stopped the basically Hail Marys that were going back and forth with a defensive takeaway. That sealed the win for them. So I think there are moments where this defense is stepping up. It's just about, when it's, a 10-point game in the middle of the second quarter, middle of the third quarter, and it's not the high leverage situation where everyone's just so at 120%. Can you still give it 100%? And that's something that I think they're probably working on. They're playing good teams. Ole Miss is the first team to have gone up against the SEC with Kentucky, and they've always played 5 years in a row of one-score games against them. Arkansas was going to be close. Some people didn't have them even winning that game, especially when Austin Simmons was a question mark. Yeah. So I don't know if it's a concern. They definitely want to limit that. You don't want to be, in 93-point games every single week, but I think that they're not in a position where they're concerned about it. And Tulane will be telling, though, because, like I said, I'm seeing it as not necessarily the same level game. They'll never say that, but I don't think that it's the same as in Arkansas and Kentucky and Georgia that are coming up in Tennessee and things like that, Oklahoma. But Tulane is a great benchmark this week. And I think the key for me is Ole Miss fans, Ole Miss team, Ole Miss staff looking at how they do perform against a team that has been up there in recent years, that has had legit shots at winning their conference, at being in the postseason in many ways with expanded playoffs. How do they do against that? If you see them give up 100 points again this week or lose the game, then you start asking some questions about what we need to change. But that's why they play this game, because it doesn't go on the SEC record, and it's a good team you want to play early on to see where you are.
Yeah, David, let's take a listen to Lane Kiffin. I know that Patrick had already pulled some sound from Coach Kiffin gearing up for this game against Tulane.
They play good defense, and now with this quarterback, much different than what, we prepare in the offseason, after spring ball for the upcoming opponent. So very rare that outside of a portal window you can get a quarterback. So that's changed a lot with them. He's looks like one of the best players in America, and they got really good scheme, and they play really hard defense. Same defensive structure and coaching than when we played Troy here. They do a great job tackling. They play really physical, and this is one of the better coached teams in the whole country.
Yeah, the way that Lane Kiffin talks, not nearly as confident as you are, David, about Ole Miss going into this game, because you sound like it's kind of under wraps, to be honest with you. I mean, you did dial it back like a tad bit, but listen, I'm pretty sure
I also don't have to play.
That's my point. Like, you don't have to coach, you don't have to play, you don't have to be there, but I'm pretty sure if you applied for a job, they'd be like, hey man, you're a little too confident going into games like this one. But listen, I mean, I'm just pulling the strings. But what I would say is that
on PR mode.
Yeah, exactly. Rat poison, they would say over there. Lane Kiffin, cut off the block there from Nick Saban. But there's no doubt that right now Tulane is one of, if there's a handful of teams that will be considered in the current state of college football as the Group of 5 program that gets that college football playoff spot. Tulane is certainly in the conversation, no doubt. I think anyone there in the top echelon of the American Conference probably is. They're probably one of the best Group of 5 schools. They have a couple of P4 wins, and Duke, I know that they just beat recently. And so you have to agree that the competition, no doubt, is going to be a great test. And as you look forward, David, to the SEC slate, things get serious fast for Ole Miss, of course. You look at the LSU game. There's no break there. You're going to get a quick break. You're going to play out of conference against Washington State. Then it's Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina. I mean, it's not like the road is it softens whatsoever. That's kind of the SEC, but you can also have the ball fall your way scheduling wise, where you kind of get the upper echelon SEC and not necessarily the bottom feeders either.
Right. There are a lot of teams with those little numbers in front of their names popping up soon. They do have a break week, of course, on October 4th, and then they play Washington State coming out. So, they still get their 4 non-conference games, just they spread them out a little bit more, and probably on purpose, because we've heard them talk about how sometimes it's better to have a break and have not, again, they would never say easier game, but just a non-conference game.
Yeah, I get it. Pressure's off a little bit.
In between what we can at least all agree on, and Lane Kiffin probably does as well, that Georgia's, Oklahoma's are going to be tough games. So in between those tough games, if you could mix it up with the non-conference too. So it is going to be intense. You got to start with this week. Injuries are huge. You don't want to go in there, over assuming what you can do and then do something silly and, twist Austin Simmons' ankle by doing something dumb. They always used to say that, Jackson Dart last year needed to slide a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you heard Dart say this year as he goes on to the NFL as the backup quarterback for the Giants now after being drafted in the first round, they asked him about why are you not sliding so much in preseason and avoiding getting hurt in certain non-meaningful situations like a preseason game. And he goes, "No, I think Brian Dable really likes it." And this is the kind of the vibe that came from Ole Miss too, where it was like this tough guy where Lane Kiffin kind of give him the side eye,
Yeah.
So basically that this year you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You're also not obviously underestimating your opponent, and then you get into these tough games. But if you're going to want to be a team in the top 12, like they almost really could have been last year, just fell short, these are the games that matter. I was at the game 2 years ago at Ole Miss where they beat Jaden Daniels and the LSU Tigers. I was at the game last year where Georgia, ranked number 2 or 3 in the country at the time, came in, and Simmons and Dart together as quarterbacks, and the rest of the team, of course. The defense was fantastic that game. They rose to the occasion and they won. So it will be very telling, but it will also be telling for any of the other teams as they try and make their case. This is where it will be made, and why the key that I've continually talked about with both of you on this broadcast since the beginning of the season is the key to Ole Miss was the early starts. How fast would they get some wins? And they have gotten Kentucky, and they have gotten Arkansas, and now they look to get a Tulane, even if it won't be an SEC conference parentheses win. They'll try and get back to that next week.
Yep, no doubt. David Edelstein, we appreciate your time today talking Ole Miss Rebels. Certainly in a good place right now going into week 4 of the college football season with a couple of SEC victories for sure. We will check back in with you as we move forward to talk Lane Kiffin and the Rebs here down the road. Appreciate your time, sir, and have a great day there in Jackson.
Thank you both very much. You do a great job. Patrick, too. Always the best. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. David Edelstein joining us to talk all things Ole Miss, and certainly a game to keep an eye on. He sounded a little confident, G.
Very.
And all I'm saying is John Summerall, might be an SEC coach sooner than later, and so I would just, maybe not go put that one in like super, super bold ink.
And also, what we've seen from this American League, the American Conference,
They can beat anybody.
And they're not scared. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, no.
They don't walk into any of these environments
scared. I would say they're absent.
Yeah.
They're confident.
Yeah.
They want to
Right.
be there. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have a comeback win over a P4 opponent by just, showing up.
Yep.
You want to compete.
Exactly.
You want to win.
Yep.
So, and if you've ever listened to John Summerall talk, I would suit up for him.
He has that fire. He's got that fire.
He's got that fire. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, another non-conference game in the SEC we're going to get to here in just a couple of minutes. It's going to be UAB up against the Tennessee Volunteers, still trying to kind of lick their wounds after falling to Georgia. UAB trying to get some wins under their belts as the Trent Dilfer tries to figure it out there in Birmingham. We're going to head to Birmingham after the break to check in with our guy Scott Griffin. He's always got something wild to say.
Yeah, he
so
does.
Can't wait for this. We'll hear from Scott at WIAT here in just a minute. Stay with us. Rolling right along here, Southeast Sports Plus, Simone, Gerhard, Patrick joining you. And this week in the SEC, we've had good games every single week in some capacity. There will be some teams that step outside of conference play on Saturday. One of them, the Tennessee Volunteers, probably glad that after the situation with overtime with Georgia, the loss there in Knoxville, that they're going to get a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, a chance to kind of let some frustrations out because of some self-inflicted mistakes in
Yeah.
that game against the Georgia Bulldogs as they welcome in UAB.
Yeah, no question. And the last time that Scott Griffin joined the show, he had a lot to say about Alabama. I really look forward to whatever he has to say about UAB and Tennessee this week. Scott, welcome into Southeast Sports Plus from Birmingham. Appreciate your time, sir. Sports director, newly appointed sports director there. Congratulations on that role.
You.
Certainly deserving, and really glad for you. I know this is a super busy time, but when you look at this one on Saturday, what is, like, if you had to sum it up, what would be the first thought that comes to your mind?
Help, I need somebody, help. You've heard the song. Look, I mean, Tennessee loses that game against Georgia, and now they write a check to come beat your brains in.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Now, I will say this. I think Trent Dilfer has the right perspective on it. Obviously, as you know, you're just trying to get better. Yes, they're going to say, oh, we're going to try to win the game, but we all know what's going to happen there. Let's just be realistic. So, they just need to get better. So what does that mean? That means competing against a top 20 team that has a mat on, right? Just competing, getting better, almost looking at it like you're just sharpening yourself for the rest of your conference schedule. So I think he's realistic about those things. Now, I will say this. Their offense is really good, Simone and Gerhard. They're top. They were 18th a couple of weeks ago. Jalen Kitna, John Kitna's son, is really good. He's an NFL quarterback. He's 6'5". He could make every throw. He's really good. Trent Dilfer knows how to call offense. So I think they'll score on Tennessee, even with the mat on. They might score 3 touchdowns. So I'm not saying it's going to be close, but I don't think you're going to see 49-3. In this one.
Okay, interesting.
That is interesting. It is
That's
interesting.
just a thought.
I get it. No, I get it. And you mentioned John Kitna being the son of an NFL coach. That's probably the reason why Mr. Kitna, probably convinced his son to go down there with Trent Dilfer. What do you make of what Trent Dilfer has done with the quarterbacks? Because it seems like of all the positions and of all the things that have gone wrong at UAB, they've happened to get that position right. Although the defense has been shaky and everything else has been shaky as well.
You're right. I mean, Jacob Zeno was really good.
Yep.
He made a mistake, obviously, transferring to A&M because he's like third team there now. But he was very talented and really good. And then they got Kitna. We all know what happened at Florida with all those things. And he's turned his life around, got married. And he's really good. Again, when you've had Trent Dilfer, who played in the NFL, as you guys know, and then your dad did, and I talked to him this week about it on the Inferno podcast that UAB does, he's sat around the table with that, right? So he's getting it from his coach, and all that's doing is reinforcing what he's heard from his dad all the time. As far as thinking through the game, situational, keep your cool, don't get overwhelmed because it's Tennessee and the fans are going nuts, all those things that he's going to face. So I think he's got a great demeanor. He's bounced back from his issues and bad choices well, and we forget he's a 4-star kid. He's really good. So, and they've got some good receivers. They got a kid named Milliner. They've got some running backs. They got Josh Jacobs' brother, Isaiah Jacobs. They got a kid named Beebe who's really good. He's leading the conference at kickoff returns. They've got some skill talent to do some things. Their offensive line is also playing out of their minds and playing better. We'll see what happens Saturday, but they could put 17-21, which doesn't, people watching may think that's no big deal. But this is UAB versus Tennessee after a Tennessee loss, right?
No question. A lot of storylines in this one, no question about that, Scott. Let's take a listen to Coach Dilfer as UAB is gearing up for this game in Knoxville.
I mean, you're always trying to win the game. I've been in a lot of games where you're a big underdog and, nobody gives you a chance. And, as a competitor, you're still trying to find a way to win. But I think we have to get better, and that's why I said that in the beginning of the season. I've been saying to the team is, this first third of the season is really finding out who we are and making sure we're getting better and making sure that we're correcting mistakes, that nothing becomes habitual, that we're identifying people that fit into the systems the best, people that are playing the hardest, people that are the most invested. So you just, without preseason football, you can't really know. You know, it's not like we've had a lot of these players for 2-3 years and know their DNA. So we're finding out their DNA as competitors as the season goes on, and you're seeing how they fit into the system. So, you know, I think a victory in this game is what you're looking for, but there's other victories too. You want to be emotionally sharp throughout the game in a climate that's going to be difficult to handle your emotions. You want to be mentally sharp and clear of thought in an environment that's going to be hard to be clear of thought because it's going to be so loud and so intense. And then physically, you want to compete through the whistle against a team that is very physical and very fast, very explosive. That's going to compete as hard as you, if not harder. So I think you look for the victory in the game, but you also look for the victories emotionally, mentally, and physically in individual matchups and units.
So, Scott, a lot to unpack there, Scott, and it's not like this is any secret that Trent Dilfer has been under a significant amount of heat there at UAB. He's 9-18 in his time coaching there at UAB. Of course, he was hired in 2023 after a very brief stint in the high school game. So hired primarily because of what he did as a player, not only at the college level, but also in the NFL. But that doesn't always mean that that translates to being able to coach football. And a lot of people would say that in the case of Trent Dilfer, he can't coach football. And, you know, you listen to him there and he says, hey, we haven't had these guys for a long time. We haven't spent a lot of time. We got a bunch of new people. I mean, okay, him and 164 football programs in the country are dealing with the same situation. And so, again, it didn't sound like he was excuse making necessarily. But my question to you is, what is the temperature on him there at UAB at this time? And has it loosened any bit with a win over Akron? I highly doubt it. But how do you feel like things are with them getting in some talent and trying to turn things around?
I felt pretty good after the first couple of games. They beat Alabama State in a shootout, but they put up 52. Then they went on the road to Navy and had all the disruptions with the 2.5 hour couple of rain delays that added up to 2.5 hours. And they put 24 on Navy and was in the game till pretty much close to the fourth quarter. That's a hard place to play and a difficult team to play. Last week, Akron had not scored all year, but they were better than people thought, probably a little bit. But UAB had the opponent on their home field driving for a chance to win. That's not good. But they are 2-1. They only won a couple last year. He had to get a new defensive staff. He was forced to make changes there, and that's been by far the weakest side of the ball for him.
Sure.
So I'm not sure that's been the answer either. I think he's true to himself that he looked in the mirror and did a lot of self-reflection in the off season. So I don't think it's his way or the highway kind of thinking. He's changed a lot of what he's talking about and saying and the way he positions things to the media. So I'm going to give him a pass here, and we'll see. I'm going to need to see a few more games before I judge whether he can coach it out. But he's a really good, as you guys know, he's a really good developer of quarterbacks and offensive side of football. They got Mortensen over there who came from Nick Saban's staff. So they're really good offensively. But overall running a program, I don't know. We'll see.
And I do think
the jury's still out.
I do think that it's important to note what you just said, which is that he reinvented himself, so to speak, when it comes to how he handles media, lines of questioning, just the kind of the smugness that he had for a long time there and almost being demeaning at times in terms of how people are questioning certain things there at UAB. And it seems like he's maybe, like you said, done some soul searching. And that's really, really hard for someone who's a Super Bowl champion or anyone, really. I mean, that's hard for us to do at times. I mean, nobody wants to look in the mirror and say, I've got to change my attitude. But he did. And I think that's certainly something that's admirable.
Yeah, I think he did that hard work, to your point, and he did in the offseason. And it comes across in the times I've spent with him personally on doing some podcasts and then also, at his weekly press conference deal. So I think he's genuine. Sometimes he's too genuine, probably too honest. So he probably has to dial that back a little bit. Yeah. But, I'm not ready to say he's there forever or anything like that. But we got to remember in this day and time, as you guys know, buying out a coach, let's say he goes, 3-9 or 4-5 8, whatever. And there's the naysayers are out there. I don't know if UAB at this level program or many programs that can buy out coaches with multiple years left because of the NIL and where they are.
Yeah.
It's not like, and fans haven't gotten used to that yet. Oh, write a check, get rid of Kalen DeBoer.
Well,
really? Write a check for $68 million?
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy that's not going to happen as much these days with the NIL. So you better be making your choices correctly from the AD and boards when you make a hire, because those days of writing blank checks to get out of here are probably gone.
Yeah. I wanted to ask more of a
In my
big picture.
opinion.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I want to ask more of a big picture question about the fan base there, because it felt like when this program was revived, immediately they were on fire. They went to a bowl game. They had Bill Clark and had all this energy, and then obviously Bryant Vincent came in, won the Bahamas Bowl, and back in 2021 they had 9 wins, and then under Vincent they had 7, and then they had 4 2 years ago, then they had 3 last year. What's the overall mood of the fan base that was just so jacked up not that long ago about this program going to 5 or 6 straight bowl games in a row to where they are now? And given the fact that they're in a very difficult league with Tulane and South Florida and all these other teams that are in the American.
Yeah, there's some good football, underrated football in that league for sure. It's not the greatest. If you're going to hire a big name splash like Simone was talking about a while ago, even though he was a high school coach, this is a different deal. You're at lower level college football. So how do you navigate that?
Well,
and he had
UAB fans don't even want to hear that you say lower level college football. I mean, if you say lower level college football, I mean, you and I and Gerhard and Patrick know what you're saying, but fans, the fan ear to that is like, no, we're not. No, we're not. We have a bowl win. No, we're not.
It's my team, right?
I mean, well, even so, but there might be some truth to what UAB was. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Scott, but I just think that just to, I think that that is part of the issue, is that I think that there's a lot of proud people there, and there's a lot of politics in just football in general in the state of Alabama. We certainly don't have time to get to all of that today, but I do think that fans, to your point, Scott, and to Gerhard's question, is that like they didn't want to see this program take a step back. They don't want to feel like they're lower level college football. They want to feel like they're upper level. I mean, right now, a P5 or a group of 5 team gets to compete for a national championship. And UAB fans probably felt like 3 years ago, if that was a reality, that they might be in that conversation. Right. And they dang sure aren't now.
Well, and if they had stayed the course, they would be in the Big 12. Yep. You know what I mean?
No
in the conversation. And to your point, they're not now. So, they're not happy. I mean, they're over the name thing and all that. All that's cute and cool, but when you're 9 and 18 or whatever he is, that's not going to do a lot, and people aren't going to buy tickets just for that reason. So, I have been impressed that they've been competitive so far. They're 2-1. The 2 games they won they should have won, so I'm not saying that, but they were really competitive against Navy. We'll find out. This is a big test, just to play. We know they're going to lose, but just to play hard, get better, right? I mean, let's be honest, they're going to lose. But can they score 3
There's no question.
touchdowns?
I just think it's funny the way you said it. You're like, well, listen, we can talk. We can spend 40 minutes on this show today if we want to, but we know how this one's going to end up. Scott, before we let you go, just got to ask you about the state of the state, of course. Just your brief take on, is Bama back, number 1? Number 2, does Auburn have enough to get it done in Norman?
Okay, let's start with Bama. I think they obviously played well against Wisconsin. They carried over whatever they had for the mojo from Louisiana Monroe. I'm not ready to, relax and crown them with Alabama's back, right? Because we're going to find out in Athens. They're back. And I just got off the phone with Scott Cochran, the West Alabama coach, who knows Kirby Smart well, as you know, and Nick Saban, and he just says flat out Georgia's tougher, and I think he's correct. So we're going to find out on the road in Athens, living out of a suitcase, what Alabama's about. We'll see. I don't think they've run the ball enough. They ran 15 times from the tailback position against Wisconsin. We talked about what they did the first drive of the year, and then got away from the run. So they're becoming way too one-dimensional. Ty Simpson's had a terrific last couple of weeks. but Kirby Smart's going to take away the run and make you pass, and that ain't good.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm concerned for them. We'll see. We're going to have to wait and see on that. Auburn, Oklahoma. It's hard to tell about Auburn, right? They've got Jackson Arnold. He's played very well. He reads the RPOs. He's making the right decisions out of the RPOs that Peyton Thorne did not do. So he's pulling it when he needs to pull it and hitting the open guy, and then running it when he needs to run it. Thorne had a big problem with that. So he's playing well. The offensive line's playing better. Defensively, they're not there. But Oklahoma is different. Venables is there now. It's going to be a chip on your shoulder game with Arnold. Although they're saying all the right things, he still left Oklahoma to go to Auburn. So, but that'll be over with after half of the first quarter, I should say. Mm-hmm. But, I think it's find out. I can't tell you what I think of Auburn. We're going to find out a lot.
Gut check
in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are.
Scott, we appreciate your analysis and your guarantee that UAB is going to go to Knoxville and lose the football game.
And also possibly score 3 touchdowns. Those are both, those are both strong. Only one's strong. One is accurate, and the one's just strong to say out loud, and the other is strong to predict. So 3 touchdowns with a loss. We'll find out.
I love it.
Yeah. Griff brought to you by DraftKings. Here we go.
Honestly, we're going to find somebody that's going to be, your segment deserves to be sponsored. This one and not the one at 4. I love it.
No question. Scott, you're the best man. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Coming back here on Southeast Sports Plus. He's the best. He's the absolute best. Get a guarantee.
Yeah, listen, man. He's saying, they're going to lose, but they might score 3 touchdowns. Okay, all right. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Welcome back into Southeast Sports Plus, wrapping up things. Hour 1 here. First hour goes by fast, as it always does.
Hey, we had a late start, too. That was on me, guys. Apologies for that one.
It's all good.
Appreciate you. That's what you have to say. Both of y'all are like, it's all good. Thanks for killing 12 minutes of our show, sis. What are we going to do? Yell at her?
Well, we've talked a couple times this week about trying to get me to drink the SEC Kool-Aid, and I just want to throw this out here.
Okay.
Death Valley, we've had this discussion many times. Which is the real Death Valley? I've only seen the one over in Clemson.
Yeah.
But by the looks of this, I got to say, it looks like a place I want to be.
The question has been answered.
Oh, yeah.
The question has been answered.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say.
What does it say here? What's the stat?
It was the 5th most attended Week 3 game, LSU, Florida. 102,158 people were there.
What was the other? Do you know off the top of your head what the other games were? I'm just curious. I'm always curious to know what is the most attended game. I'm sure it was a sellout. That's by their capacity.
I think it was Michigan.
Okay.
Probably Tennessee too.
Yeah.
Georgia game.
I did read that the SEC played in 10 of the top 15
Right.
most attended games in Week 3.
So that would be 2/3.
2/3.
So did you want to argue about the Kool-Aid anymore?
No,
or did you just want to go ahead and take a big sip?
You know what?
Quit taking shots and just go ahead and just chug it, my guy.
I'll go ahead and take my nice L.
Yeah, we're gonna connect it with on like an IV. You're gonna get the arm tapped up, get it on there, because at this point, man, it's either like the numbers don't lie. My dad always said that. He always said ball don't lie. That was if I wasn't if I wasn't running. He always like low man wins. Ball don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Those are ingrained in my head in ways that, man, I've heard it so many times. We're going to go to a quick break, guys. Hour 2 of the show is just about 2 minutes away. Stay with us. Southeast Sports Plus with SG and P joining just a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
Welcome in, everybody. Southeast Sports Plus, hour number 2. Some difficult news to report here regarding the SEC. We learned today that former South Carolina quarterback Connor Shaw had a medical scare. And when you read the details of this, it is certainly a very, very scary situation. We know that he currently is in stable condition after being hospitalized in an apparent health scare at his son's youth football game. So according to a statement of the city of Simpsonville in South Carolina, eyewitnesses told the state that Shaw collapsed about 15 minutes into the game that he was coaching, his son's youth football game, taken to a local hospital. We understand that they had to perform CPR at the scene. So if you cannot imagine, I literally cannot imagine what this would be like for not only his son, but other children that are at the game, his family, just everybody that was, and our thoughts and prayers are certainly with him, as this is just a situation where, man, you don't ever want to see something like that. And this is a guy who is just really, really well loved in the history of South Carolina football.
Yeah, he played for Steve Spurrier back in the day, and he still holds some records, top 10 in most of the quarterback rankings in South Carolina football history. And he's one of these guys that's remembered in SEC lore. He did not have a long NFL career, so that we remember him because of his days in college football. And now he's doing what any dad wants to do with their son, and trying to coach the next generation, and trying to be there and help mold and teach football to the next generation. And then he has that health scare. So obviously we're praying for him, and I know the South Carolina family is also praying for him going into the weekend. But yes, it's one of those where you hate it for any former player that has a health scare, and especially one that is doing so much good for youth football right
and
now.
Just your own child, and pouring into the youth in the community and for their lives, no question. So certainly hoping for the very best in that situation with Connor Shaw. Very well loved, historic season, career there, 4 seasons at South Carolina, no doubt about it. Guys, several topics throughout college football that we're going to be discussing here in the final hour of Southeast Sports Plus, and one of them includes some news from the NCAA. Of course, all eyes have been on what is going to happen with the NCAA, with the transfer portal, with the timing and the window. And Gerhard, I feel like it has been several months, maybe several years, we should say, that we have heard from people like Hugh Freeze. We've heard from several SEC coaches locally. To think about, Major Applewhite. These are people that we regularly talk with, and the complaints about the transfer window. Right. Nobody's going to complain about it probably more than the people right up the road here in Mobile. I mean, South Alabama, after spring football, lost like half of their roster.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it seems as though the NCAA is taking a step forward today in getting control of this.
And I think we're starting to see this, Simone, where we're getting some guardrails finally around college football, because if you ask any coach, some of the biggest things they bring up are we don't have guardrails over X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Usually the first thing that comes up is the transfer portal window, because there were 2 windows and teams were losing guys in the early window, and then 60 days later, 90 days later, losing guys again. You mentioned Major Applewhite, and we talked yesterday to Mike Sadie. He said the same thing about Memphis. 50, 60, 70 guys would transfer in and out. It was just getting unbearable for these college coaches. So this decision by the NCAA committee is a huge win for college coaches and coaching staffs overall. It most certainly is. It's a monster win for them, but also I think it's big for the sport at large, as well as the NCAA tries to find some ways to corral this huge issue, but then also some details to go through as well.
Yeah, initially it says the proposal from the FBS Oversight Committee had the winter portal window opening on January 2nd and closing January 11th. However, the Oversight Committee will continue to discuss the timing and length of the new winter window based on student-athlete feedback. And, I do think that there's got to be a balance because right now there are a lot of player-led things in college sports. And, Gerhard, we've talked at length about this personally, professionally, you name it. And there's got to be give by the NCAA because there was no give at all, no give a dang, and no give on any of the rules for a long time. And now we've finally made some changes, but it's feel like we've gone too far the opposite direction, and now there's just no control. And name the topic because Lord Almighty, there's several.
And NIL was one of them. It looks like the House settlement has gotten a little bit of that under wraps a bit. Transfer portal was another big one, but as you mentioned, in my opinion, the way college athletics has been for the longest time is the NCAA was so heavy-handed at the beginning, and now they're trying to overcorrect for some of the mistakes that have had.
Put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You just can't. And this is their best effort to try to save some of that toothpaste.
I think they'll be successful in it because this is one of those things where it's very like black and white. So money can get a little iffy. What is NIL? Who is paying players? Is it just the institutions? Are you going to cut out the collective deals? You start doing all of that, and then we end up with situations like the House settlement, and then the more student athletes saying, "Hey, no, my value could be this." Then you have now, I'm not going to say the NCAA isn't going to deal with a boatload of having to vet different guys for different reasons for why they feel like they deserve an opportunity to leave or move. Again, the point is, hey. They've got to dial it in. It's making life hell for college athletes. It's making recruitment impossible for high school athletes. There has to be something that is done. And also, did we all forget about the part where people are just held accountable for the decision that they make?
Right. Yeah, and going to the place.
Remember how that used to be a thing?
So you sign your name on a piece of paper that says you're going somewhere, and then actually go somewhere, and do it.
Well, that's a thought.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of that is lost, and it feels like a lot of recruiting has now turned into. It used to be the big thing about signing day, and then signing day lost its luster because it's like, this is not a 1-year guarantee. This is not a 4-year commitment. This is a 1-day commitment sometimes.
Even in what we do locally, we have so much come back on how much we were announcing commitments, how much time we were willing to spend, and already the very brief amount of time we get for sportscasts to dedicate important local coverage to a decision that it doesn't have any meaning, a decision that really wasn't a decision that held a spot temporarily because you felt like you needed to commit to something until there's something better, different, now has more money. Still something impacted what your decision actually was. There used to be a time, if you remember, I'm not sure, it's been so long now, where that announcement actually held water.
Where that was the case, and now it's not that anymore. And hopefully this will help get it back more towards it, but where guys are more conscientious about it. But we got to a place because think about in December, middle of December, if you're a team that has won 6+ games, your coaching staff is now trying to recruit. Your coaching staff is dealing with guys going into the transfer portal. You're trying to deal with bowl preparation. And then you're trying to let your coaches enjoy Christmas and all the normal things that you have.
And honestly, and by the way, there is nobody in the world. I don't care how much money you're making. There is amount of money that you agree to when you coach college football at a big time level, that you have to face the fire when you come to difficult questions. You have to face the fire, but everybody deserves time away. Everybody deserves time with their family, and their kids deserve. Just because you sign up to coach college football, which, by the way, if we all forgot what that job was supposed to entail, which education, personal development, not just what you're doing on the field. So they're pouring into the lives of young people, of kids who. Well, at one time it was 18 to 22, but now it's like 18 to 28. But there was a time when that's what the job was. But that doesn't mean that you don't ever see your family simply because the NCAA can't get their situation right. It's not fair.
It isn't. And for all those coaches that are there to, as you say, help develop guys. And when we talked about a guy like Trent Dilfer, how he develops quarterbacks and whatnot, all that development now goes out the window because now they're just worried about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And even the window that is proposed between January 2nd and January 11th is what's proposed. The final dates will still be determined, I think, next month. even that still runs in a weird timeline because the college football semifinals and the championships are all right in there.
And it says in here that there's going to be, if you're in the playoffs, there's going to be exceptions, and that's how it should be. And then it should be a way where, okay, the way more majority teams that are not in the playoffs can start to turn the page to the next season. They don't need to be turning the page to the next season before they even play in a bowl game, though.
Right.
Which is what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were having guys opting out of games, and now we might still have that.
No,
we
for
might
sure
still
we'll
have that, but we were having it in a way where guys were literally in a different city before their team kicked off the bowl game.
Right.
And do not even come at me about coaches leaving. They can leave for a bowl game. It ain't the same. Coaching and playing is not the same, okay?
Yeah.
There's things that you get as a player that coaches don't get. There's things you get as a coach, players don't get. It's called reality. Suck it up or don't play.
Yeah.
Or don't coach. Whatever one you're mad about, but make the timeline something that benefits everybody, the high schools, the colleges, and the livelihoods of coaches. But don't sit here and come at me and say, oh, they can leave, and so we should all have the opportunity. Life ain't fair.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
I got it from the money perspective. I understood it from the money perspective that these people that are playing college football are essentially employees of the university. And so I got it from a money standpoint, but you're right. From a job standpoint, the coaches are the coaches and players aren't seen in the same because they're not using the university in the same way. The coaches are using the university in a way to teach and develop and to get their lives and their families' lives, whether it's on that next level or whatever. Players are there to, number one, get an education, and then also to play their sport as well. So like I said, I got it from a financial standpoint, but I don't think it should just be carte blanche where you go wherever you want to every single, like, you can literally go to 4 different schools, all in the same conference, in 4 different years. That's not what the system was set up for.
No, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing a lot. Guys, a great start to our second hour here on Southeast Sports Plus. Plenty more to come over the next 45 minutes or so, including a chat with our guy out in Oklahoma City, Holden Cruzmark, going to join the show to talk about the Sooners and the big matchup that all the eyes in and around the SEC, really, but certainly in Auburn, Alabama, have a good look on, as this game is going to have plenty of storylines. We will break all of that down with Holden here in just a couple minutes. Stay with us. Southeast Sports Plus rolling right along. Hour 2 of the day. Several games that we will have a close watch on week 4 of the college football season. Possibly none bigger than this one that is going to take place there in Norman. And we're going to welcome in our guy from Oklahoma City, Holden Cruzmark. Thanks so much for joining the show this afternoon, Holden. How are you doing, sir? How are things there in OKC?
It's pretty good here. There's not too much to complain about. We got a lot of football going on. That's always a good thing, right?
It's always a great thing. It's always a very, very busy time. When you think about this top 20, whatever it is, matchup between Oklahoma and Auburn, plenty of storylines, probably none bigger than the guy under center there for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, it's hard not to think about that matchup this week with, as soon as Jackson landed at Auburn and, you knew that these teams were going to face off this year in Norman, it instantly just became like a marquee matchup on the schedule, almost regardless of whether either team was actually that good or not. It was going to be a matchup that we were all looking forward to seeing exactly what would happen and, how Jackson would look at Auburn and how his replacement would do at OU and John Mateer. Yeah. That's also kind of the fun part about this is just that Mateer wouldn't probably be at OU if Jackson had stayed, and now I think everybody's happy. Brent Venables didn't really want to comment too much about Jackson, but he did say, it seemed like a kind of a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, and I knew the coaches, and Hugh Freeze basically said the same thing. Hugh Freeze is saying all the right things, and I expected Brent Venables to say all the right things as well. As you gauge whether it's audibly or just your perception of what you think the defense and the members of the Oklahoma Sooners feel about Jackson coming back to Norman, what's your overall take about just those players? Because they're obviously, all of them are very competitive. And the fact that they shared a field with this guy for a couple of seasons and now he's coming back. What's your take on how they feel going into this one?
Well, I would think they'd feel pretty confident considering Jackson played against that defense the last couple of years and did not do well. I mean, heading into last season, there was a whole kind of quarterback controversy in fall camp because Jackson Arnold wasn't playing well against that OU defense. And it was Michael Hawkins going to play? And then eventually Jackson got benched and Hawkins did play, and then Jackson got his job back. So I don't think there's too much worry from the OU defense about whether they can slow down Jackson Arnold. They've gone against him in practice, countless times. They know what he's good at, what he's not good at. The only difference now is he's got some good playmakers around him at Auburn and the 2 wide receivers, and they've got a decent running game. So I think that kind of benefits Jackson, but even so, he hasn't exactly lit up the passing yard numbers this year. He's been good running the ball, but that's kind of been, to me, that's the key against this OU defense. Can you throw against them? Because you're going to have a hard time running the ball against this OU defense. Can you throw against them? And so far, none of the quarterbacks they face have been able to throw against them. Yeah,
and I think that if what you're saying is that they're going to have to use their legs, I think that would play to Jackson Arnold's game, at least in the current setting. I don't think that that's something that Hugh Freeze wants to have to rely on going in for, the entirety, because the SEC slate obviously is very, very difficult as a quarterback if you're going to take off on the run. But I think that to this point, he's done what is necessary for Auburn to be 3-0. And I think that's good. No question about that. When you think about passing the ball, however, the quarterback there for the Sooners has been, like you said, a win-win situation for all, and what John Mateer has been able to bring in that roster there for Brent Venables and company.
Yeah, I think OU's probably a little bit happy that they're on this side of things, just considering how much life Mateer has brought into this program, this offense, and everything like that. And also just from the fact that he had the familiarity with Arbuckle and his system and stuff, whereas Jackson would have had to been learning the new system and trying to get it down, and it would have been his 3rd system in 3 years since he started with Jeff Lebby his first year as the OU offensive coordinator, and then it switched to Seth Luttrell, who then ended up getting fired midway through last season. So it would be interesting to see if, Jackson could pick up the Ben Arbuckle offense. I think OU's pretty happy with how they ended up on this side of things. Yeah. Mateer, to me, it shows that he's a much better passer than Jackson has. Jackson has been, just by sheer numbers and the way he's able to, kind of buy some time. And it seems like when he's able to move around, it's not always just to take off. He's looking for guys down the field and, trying to throw the ball as well. And I feel like Jackson kind of, like, if he had to scramble, he was going to run the ball. He wasn't looking to, move around in the pocket and then throw the football. I think that's kind of one of the things that OU likes about Mateer. And, I don't think they're upset one bit that they have John and they don't have Jackson.
No question. Got a chance to hear from the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, Brent Venables. Let's check him out.
Obviously, things have worked out well for him and us both. But those things are never easy. But it's just the environment that we're in, and I'm really happy for him that he's having great success. I think he's the same guy. I think he's got a healthy football team around him, and he's having great success, running, throwing, being really efficient. He's taking care of the ball. And the people around him are good. Can't play quarterback by yourself, right? So I think the offense and their defense complement one another, and he's really done a great job. He really stopped the Auburn offense. That's the challenge. And they're got great balance, as I said, both running and throwing, and very efficient. So you got to play well in every area. They're good at running the football, and they're good at throwing the ball down the field in the RPO world, and staying on schedule, being very efficient. And so we've got to be a little more efficient, and we've got to protect the perimeter, and we got to do a great job up front, plugging gaps and getting off of blocks and having great leverage and playing great team defense.
Holding between these two teams, they've played 6 games. Auburn's played Baylor, Ball State, South Alabama, and Oklahoma's played Illinois State and Temple last week, and Michigan. And no disrespect to the other 5 opponents, but I think Michigan is the biggest one. Oklahoma's played in the biggest game so far. How big is that going into this matchup? They've already played in a big atmosphere, big environment right there in Norman.
I wouldn't say Baylor's much of a slouch either. I think they could be a contender in the Big 12. Granted, Michigan has much more history and prestige and everything like that, but I think both teams have played a good game, and I believe that game was in Waco too. So, both teams have faced their challenge, and then they've also had some easy games to kind of get them ready for this one. So, I think that the Michigan game really kind of proved and solidified a lot of the things that we had been hearing all off season about this team, and their ability to improve from last year and everything. And so the only thing that could really derail that is losing this game to Auburn and your former quarterback in Jackson Arnold. And so I think this is a big one just in terms of that, because you pick up a lot of momentum from that Michigan win. Now you got to keep it going. You got to start the SEC play with 1-0, and the fact that OU beat Auburn last year when it was one of the worst OU teams in a long time. One of the worst
Auburn losses in a long time too. Yeah, that was painful.
The state of Alabama did not like playing OU last year. It's kind of a weird thing, but
that was definitely something weird. Especially given the fact that Brent Venables was in turmoil too, and he came over to here and he won a couple games. I mean that's an interesting place to be, no question. Holden, I want to ask, I always get a feel for, obviously we can watch the Oklahoma game and we can see that John Mateer can throw it well, and we can see that the defense is, but I feel like when you're there, boots on the ground, one thing that you can observe and feel and just get a sense of, comparatively speaking, is the fan base and the temperature and the excitement or the disappointment. And is there a guarded hopefulness by the Sooners fan base that this is the year, or is there a quiet confidence or a loud confidence that this is a team that is going to be one of the teams to beat in the Southeastern Conference?
OU fans have been hurt a few times in the Brent Venables era so far. So I think that, the guard was definitely up heading into this year. And that Michigan win, the guard's starting to come down, and people are, starting to feel the excitement and everything like that. And, I think you can only lose that by losing to Auburn. So I think you win this game, and you're going to be 5-0 heading into the Red River rivalry, which is, pretty, it's basically what you were.
Something different. There's no doubt about that.
I think it would be better than any OU fan could have hoped for, being undefeated going into the Red River rivalry. Now that kind of kicks off like a a gauntlet of games. So, being 5-0 heading into the Red River rivalry doesn't exactly mean much because you could easily lose 4 of the next 5 after that. But
I feel like you're kind of dismissing Kent State here, and I really don't. I really don't think that as a former MAC person myself that I really appreciate that type of context there, Holden. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were talking about a potential letdown game with at Temple, so maybe you beat Auburn,
God,
the guard's down, Kent State comes into Norman, and
well, they sure beat them like they were UMass.
I did. I know that was on me. That was on me, dog. That was on me.
I love it. Oh, you talked about John Mateer, but I want to talk a little bit about Ben Arbuckle and the way that he will attack this Auburn defense. So far this season, they've been able to stop the run at a really solid rate. And to me, the defense, the secondary has been solid as well. What do you figure that Arbuckle will do, given this game is at home, given this game is a really nice environment? Do you think he'll play off the crowd and let Mateer let it rip, or do you think he'll just try to ground and pound and shorten the game down with the run offense?
Yeah, I think one thing I've kind of noticed about Ben Arbuckle is his style isn't like set in stone, and he kind of seems to be able to adapt to whatever he thinks is the best game plan to defeat a defense that he's going against, whether that's running the ball, passing it, running with his quarterback, as he did a lot against Michigan. John Mateer carried the ball a lot in that win against Michigan, so he's not afraid to really kind of mix things up and change the offense up and into whatever he thinks is going to help them win the game. And whether that's running the football, throwing the football, I do think they have to establish the run. And one of the things that we continue to talk about is just the fact that, like, where the heck is Jay Knott in all of this discussion? Because he has been basically a complete non-factor in their first 3 games against 2 bad opponents and a good opponent. He's barely seen the field, and that's kind of a perplexing thing. They do really like Torrey Blaylock, though, out of the backfield. He won SEC Freshman of the Week for his performance against Temple, and he seems to, really kind of be leading this backfield at this point. And they like Javonte Barnes kind of spelling him a little bit, and they've mixed in Xavier Robinson. You got to be able to run the ball, but like you said, Auburn, it's kind of hard to run the ball against them. So we'll see. It kind of seems like they'll probably rely on Mateer to kind of, bail them out. And I mean, it's a good option to have if you're relying on John Mateer to bail you out, because he's pretty good at being able to do that.
Holden, I think I've been to Oklahoma like one time for a wedding, and I can't remember even what city it was in. It might have been in Tulsa. I honestly can't remember. But back to my actual question that I was going to ask is that you're having to kind of pull double duty over the next 2 days and then somehow squeeze in high school football. Oklahoma State plays tomorrow against Tulsa, which, judging by this Google map search that I've done in the last 30 seconds, seems to be, it's like a triangle. There's Stillwater, and there's Tulsa, and there's Norman, which until this moment didn't realize that was outside of Oklahoma City. That's very interesting to note. What is your coverage plan? I'm always curious. What is your coverage plan like in terms of what you're going to do with Oklahoma State that's right up the road, so to speak, from where you're located, and then Norman that's in your back door? Maybe, I'm not trying to paraphrase or put words in your mouth, but obviously that game is kind of going to be a quick turnaround. What is your plan, you, Brian, and the crew there? Yeah, so I'm just glad it's not an 11 a.m. kickoff against Auburn. That would have been made my life a little bit more. That's too big of a game for 11 a.m. Hopefully they have more respect on that. Yeah. I was hoping for the evening kickoff just to space it out a little bit more. I didn't get that lucky, but so you're going to both.
I'll be and I'm covering a high school game tonight. So I'll be at a high school game tonight. Then I'll do OSU on Friday, and then sleep for however many hours I can, and then drive down to Norman on Saturday for the OU Auburn game. So will you stay in Stillwater, or will you drive back to Oklahoma City tomorrow night? Yeah, I'll drive back to Oklahoma City. I live in OKC, so it's on the way, basically, So I mean, it's like an hour and a half, though, right? Up there, and you got to double back 90 minutes. It's an hour and a half between Norman and Stillwater. From our station, it's like an hour to Stillwater. I was just trying to get him to foot the bill for a hotel for you, something like that. Holden, all right, man. Like, listen, you got all these young folks nowadays. They're like, oh, it's fine. We can pull all nighter. Just drive right to Norman. Just set up, a pop-up tent or something like that. No big deal. Oh no, I would prefer not to do this, but it's the cards that we are dealt, and you know what? We're just making the best of it. I'm just trying to have a smile on my face. it's early in the season. If this was like, November, I might be feeling the effects of a long football season a little bit at that point. So
Yeah, man.
Still running on adrenaline.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What's the outlook right now there in Stillwater with the Cowboys? How are things going there?
They actually just dipped into the Alabama pool. They have added a quarterback from North Alabama,
Actually,
seemingly
I saw
out of
on your
nowhere.
Twitter. I saw this. Yeah.
We're 3 weeks into the season, and they are adding a quarterback who played at North Alabama in 2023.
How does that work? And let me. I just saw this on your Twitter a minute ago. Actually, how does that work? And is there an open portal still? I don't even know. I can't even keep track anymore, honestly. If anyone can, let me know. Give me the Cliff Notes version of when the window's open and when it's not, because I have no idea what's going on with that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do this, and it's kind of where they're at in the season is that they have gotten desperate for some quarterback depth, and
so they said, "Hey,
here they are.
Let's pick somebody up."
Yeah. Let's see what this guy can do.
North Alabama quarterback Noah Walters has been added, and he will be available Friday night. I'm telling you, that might be from North Alabama, but we got that going on in high school football down here a lot. We've got guys who play week 1 of the playoffs and week 4 they're playing for a title, and the team they lost with week 1 is sitting at home and they're playing for a championship 5 weeks later. I mean, it's a wild west out here, and now we've got guys transferring week 4. How's that work?
I wonder if it's because it's FCS to FBS. I wonder if that's an issue. At first I thought it was an NCAA like a waiver thing.
Yeah, the interesting thing is when he left North Alabama after the 23 season, I think it was like April of 24, he ended up spending the next season at UCF just as a student. He wasn't even on the football team or anything like that. So The one thing I haven't quite figured out is if he has just been in the portal this whole time and just spent
he's been eating bonbons.
a year as a student at UCF or what?
He's probably been sitting chilling on the couch, and coach was like, "Hey, we better figure out somebody. Let's go find this Noah Walters." He entered the transfer portal in the spring of 2024, so that was a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, that sounds like the NFL. Like, hey, we got somebody went down. We got to pick somebody up to be there just in case. Hold the clipboard in case somebody goes down. We got to roll someone out there to be able to snap it. I mean. What the?
Yeah,
Come on over,
and
Case
Mike Gundy says we're shifting to an NFL model, so I mean that's basically what they're doing right now. Like, get this guy off the practice squad or whatever, and see what he can do.
Guys,
I would think that their hope is that he never has to play for them.
I would think.
But considering the backup options to their current quarterback are 2 true freshmen, I think they wanted at least somebody who's played some sort of college football in their time, and Noah Walters was available, I guess.
Currently on the roster is who? Just a true freshman?
Yeah, and he actually was going to play at Tulsa, but his dad ended up getting hired as a coach at OSU, so he ended up moving from Tulsa to OSU before the season started. And then their other quarterback is a Stillwater High School kid. He graduated from Stillwater last year. Now he's on their team. So those are their 2 true freshmen behind Zane Flores, who himself made his first career start against Oregon just the other week. So they were light at quarterback.
Yeah, interesting note here is that this guy is a former Nebraska Gatorade Player of the Year, this Mr. Noah Walters, and apparently he and OSU's current starter competed against each other in high school. So that's certainly something notable.
Yeah, it's I guess they really like their Nebraska quarterbacks in Stillwater,
You know what? If you look at Noah Walters' hair, I think we might have our answer on why he's there, because he's not too far off their head coach. I'm just saying. So
he's embracing the mullet.
Here you go. Well, it's long enough. He's got some waves.
Oh yeah, he's got a little Gundy in him.
Yeah, he does. No doubt about that. Holden, we appreciate your time. I'm not sure how we got on that tangent, but man, now I'm gonna ask about Oklahoma State every time because it adds a lot more. You know what? It's judging by who leads the program.
There's a lot of interesting things happening in Stillwater, that's for sure.
In college sports entirely as well. Holden, thank you so much for your time, sir. There from OKC. Tell Brian we said what's up. Our girl Carrie as well, and we'll check in with you as the season moves forward.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you. Hopefully, I'll survive this weekend of college football.
I'll text you on Sunday. Make sure that you're still with the living. Hopefully, you're not going to cover some NFL game on Sunday. I mean, what do you got Sunday? Are you off? Are you off?
I'm not off Sunday, but I will not be covering an NFL game.
Holden, you need somebody. What are you doing on Sunday? You just have to work.
I've got a archive all the games, and I'll do a couple packages on OU for that. I'm looking forward to my Saturday because I'm going to do a wrap package from the OSU game and an OU game recap package. So I'm going to toss to myself from Norman to Stillwater.
Please make this the best transition ever, and that we can air it on the show next week, because this would kind of be the greatest thing ever. I love the creativity and the idea there.
So
Please really do this. This will be great.
I'm gonna do my best to try and make it funny and kind of sell home the ludicrousness of of what we're doing.
Embrace the insanity.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
That's all I can do.
Holden, thank you so much for your time, sir, and we'll check in with you next week.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you guys later.
Holden Cruz-Mark joining us from Oklahoma City. He needs an agent, a friend, someone, a support system, somebody who can speak life into. You can't keep doing that, my guy. It ages you fast.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's still got the adrenaline. I think because we're so early in the season.
I have adrenaline too. It's called espresso.
He might need that. He might. Honestly, I don't know what his caffeine is, but.
Now listen, it's
when
you have a 3-year-old and you do this job in sports.
Yeah.
You got people wondering, hey, when do y'all take your lunch break? Oh, got that question this week. When do you take your lunch break? In sports, haven't taken one in 15 years.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking. I'll bill you for the ones that I had to work through. All right, gotta take a quick break. We'll be right back here on Southeast Sports Plus. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. You know, I had a hunch last night. I was sitting there in bed. I'm like, man, you know,
How do we make this more fun?
how do we have more fun? I mean, we're in sports. We already have fun, and I'm like, let's see if I can embarrass Simone and trivia.
Yes, me and Gerhard are just me. Look at this guy.
Well, you know, you take some shots at me.
I take that as a challenge. Always, of course, I have to. I mean, yeah, it's all
I'll take some
in
shots at
motherly
you.
love. I'm like, okay, I can take it. I can take it back. What you got? What you got?
So
what
here,
is this?
let's start. Let's start with an easy one.
So we've got trivia.
We got trivia. This is Auburn trivia.
Okay.
A topic that you're very well versed in.
Possibly.
Maybe. We'll see, actually.
Hopefully.
Here we go.
Find out.
Let's roll right into question one here.
Okay. Oh, wait. What year did
The Bow Over the Top game in the Iron Bowl
my
rivalry.
husband's going to literally divorce me.
1983.
No. 87. Is it?
Oh, we get to keep guessing? Okay, 85.
Nope.
84.
Nope.
This is ridiculous. You can't just keep guessing. What was the year? We clearly don't know that.
1982.
Oh, I was a year off. Oh.
How dare you?
Yeah, I said 85.
Here we go.
Okay, wait.
What team did Auburn play in its first game ever in 1892?
Oh my gosh. Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Georgia Tech.
No.
Okay, that's your guess. So you don't get to keep guessing.
All
right. Can I? Okay, bring us back really quick.
Yeah,
Can I ask for a lifeline? I would like to ask for a lifeline.
Are we gonna start doing lifelines
Yeah,
here?
I'm gonna call a friend. I would like to phone a friend. Patrick, can you give me the conference in which the team that they played currently plays in? Well, you didn't try this. I mean, I can't help that I'm phoning a friend. Okay, go.
The SEC.
Alabama.
Nope.
Okay, shoot, that was dumb. It was Georgia. It's Georgia. Steve Southall's right. It's Georgia.
Gives it to him because you can't answer more than one. Executive
I
rules.
wasn't thinking. I was not thinking, and I'm taking that. And I also know the name of the rivalry is the Deep South Soldiers rivalry, and why I did not think of that to begin with is so dumb of me. But I'm taking that point. It's my show. I'm taking that point. Next.
What college did Gus Malzahn first coach at after leaving the high school football?
Arkansas State.
Yes. Good job.
I'll take that's 2.
Rolling along here.
That is 2. That is 2-0. Go ahead.
Auburn had 4 first-round draft picks, including 3 in the top 10 in what year?
It'd been 2004. The 2005 draft. The 2004 season.
Correct.
Wow.
There we go.
Hey, do I get bonus points for naming them?
Yes.
Yeah, here we go. Let's see it.
Not per name.
You get.
Carlos,
I'll give you 1 point
point
if you get all of them.
Yeah.
Carlos Rogers.
Okay.
Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown.
He said there was 4. Is there 3 or 4?
There's 3 in
3
the
first rounders.
Yeah.
Oh.
3 first rounders. I was wondering about Jason Campbell, but I think he was top of the second round.
Ready here.
Okay,
Last
so
question.
Wait, so it's 2-2.
It's 2-2. Comes down to this one.
But you have some OU questions.
I do have some OU, but we'll see who the real
Who wins
Auburn.
who wins the Auburn? He only really
who
got
wins
one
the
answer.
Auburn one.
He only got one answer. Go.
Yeah.
Former Auburn coach Gene Chizik played college football where?
Oh man, where did Gene? He won a national championship in 2010. Can I get anything for that? Can I get like a side point for that?
No.
Gene Chizik played college football. Can I phone my friend Google?
No Google. Can't.
I'm gonna say
that's cheating.
I'm gonna say that it was. I'm gonna say Kentucky.
Nope.
Okay, since we did this earlier, can I get the conference?
SEC.
At least I have the right conference. Yes.
I will go with Arkansas.
Nope.
I want to say Georgia now. I don't want the point, but is it Georgia?
Nope.
Who is it?
It's Florida.
Okay, dude, I swear to God, for some reason that was coming to my brain before you spoke. But okay, 2-2, we tied. I'm good with that. All right, what do we got? What do we got next? You got some OU and Oklahoma trivia, or just OU?
Yeah, I have OU Auburn, like their playing history. I don't have it up in here. I apologize about that, but I'll
3 games. The Sugar Bowl was back a couple of years ago, and I already didn't see it. So yeah, so did my husband.
I was in the suites.
My husband was not in the suites.
First,
it was in New Orleans. That I can tell you.
First question: when was the last time Auburn played in Norman?
They've never had. This is the first
Correct.
game.
That's a good one. No, she's got it. She beat you for playing like that.
Oh my goodness!
You know what?
Okay, but to be honest with you, the only reason I know is because Gerhard.
Because I wrote the script for it.
Story yesterday.
It was in my scripts in the 6 o'clock newscast yesterday.
That is literally why I know that. And then the only reason I knew the second question, it would have taken me 15 years to remember that they played in the Sugar Bowl just a few years back.
Yeah.
Except for that, I was looking at the series to fact check you on that script that you started to write that I finished for you to make sure that they had only played in Norman one time because I was a little surprised by it. I swear to God.
Well, I was too.
They
until I saw the
played
game
three
notes.
times. They played 3 times.
Yeah, I saw it in Auburn's game notes, and that's where I got it from.
All right, I guess we'll skip
We
that question.
shouldn't
then.
question Auburn's game notes. So here's what we're gonna take is that we tied. That we both know ball.
No, here we go. This is the last question.
The tiebreaker.
I got one more. I got one more for you.
Tiebreaker.
In the 2017 Sugar Bowl, what Oklahoma quarterback threw for 296 yards and 2 touchdowns
Baker.
against Auburn? Yeah, there you go.
You were at the game, dog. My thing is like it's the only Oklahoma quarterback that I can even think of outside of John Mateer because of this season.
Let me give you the precursor to that football game.
No, you know what? Say less because I already
We were
know.
in the casino,
And I was gonna say Bourbon Street.
but I won some money on some craps for the first time in my life.
What he's saying is that money was spent before kickoff.
Yeah.
Do we have time real quick?
Me and my buddy Samuel Adams.
We do not have time. We don't have time for anything but to go to break right now. And I just won trivia, round 1.
Good job.
I'll take
Congrats.
that 4-3 loss, or you take that 4-3 loss, and I'll take the dub on that. We're gonna take a quick break, guys, and that is the first rendition of SEC trivia, which will be brought to you by Patrick every week at least, because this is hilarious. So, all right, guys, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus, wrapping up the final hour of the show here on this Thursday. And just a few hours ago, Brett McMurphy, now of On3, posted that he was told that the SEC will announce its 9-game schedule for 2026 on Tuesday. So each team is going to have 3 rivalry opponents, or the set in, built in, who it is that they're going to play every single year. And then, of course, the other 6 will be a rotating basis. Gerhard, we talked to this at length a little bit, and I know I'm kind of like throwing this on you, but I feel like we kind of have an idea of what it is we think are the natural built-in rivalries for Alabama and Auburn. But I'm curious, have you put any thought into that since our last conversation about it? And do you think that there's obvious choices, and then there's some outliers a little bit?
No doubt. And when the news of the 9-game schedule first came out, one of the first things it said was this announcement will come soon. Yeah. And I expected it to come before Halloween. Yes, I have thought about it, and it depends on where they go because there's so many different routes that they can go with this. They can go try to create some new rivalries with that third opponent because I think for most teams, your one is definitely set in stone. As far as your number one permanent rival. Your second one is kind of like your second tier rivalry. For example, Alabama will play Auburn, obviously, and Alabama. I don't think the Tennessee game is going anywhere as well. And it's like, where do you go with that third? Do you go geographic? Yeah. Do you try to foster some new rivalries?
No question.
Stuff like that. So I'm more interested in that, like the way that they structure it, because like I'll just take Alabama as a certain example because they're a powerhouse program. We know 2 of 3. That third one, they can go Mississippi State from a proximity standpoint, or they can go from Florida for a historic standpoint, or they can go, Missouri to try to create something new.
There's a way. There's some part of me that would say that Ole Miss there's ties there from just the historic games there. LSU is such an obvious choice when it comes to that sort of thing, right? But then there's Georgia. I mean, and in terms of what is hot lately, and so you really do wonder, and then you also wonder. Well, at least I wonder. Does Greg Sankey and company, there's obvious choices, and then in the question choices, how much do teams and programs and schools, universities have a say? Because I really don't know. I don't know what the breakdown is in terms of who makes the call. I'm sure that's out there somewhere. I don't know the answer to that. And then on top of that do you feel as though these teams, if they do get to have some sort of say, that there's like a lobbying as to, hey, we should play X, I don't know, if because of a monetary value or whatever interest that they have, that, hey, this program can only go 2 different directions. So if like Bama, if there's 3 teams that really want Alabama to be their third game, right? Then what's the pecking order in which that takes place? Right.
I'd be hard pressed to say that the presidents, chancellors, and the athletic directors won't have at least a say in who their rivalries will be. And like we said, obviously some will be set in stone because of the historic perspective. And it's like, where does the SEC go? Do they end up going to, hey, let's just create the biggest and the best matchups that we possibly can? Because there's a few things the SEC has continued to brag about. They brag about restoring historic rivalries, but they also brag about the footprint of the SEC and what makes sense. So, for example, like with Texas, I would imagine obviously Oklahoma and Texas A&M. That third one, I mean, is it LSU? Is it Arkansas? I think it's going to be Arkansas. I think Roger said that as well, that he's going to be Arkansas. So then now you're invoking the old Southwest Conference against the Southeastern, and so I think there's so many different ways, and everybody's done the guessing game with a lot of this. Yeah. But to me, the interesting ones aren't necessarily your blue bloods. They're not Bama. They're not Texas. They're not Texas. Not Florida. It's what do you do with Missouri? What do you do with Vandy? What do you do with South Carolina and some of these programs that have a kind of a more recent past here in the
this is interesting. So one last announcement from Thursday's release. I'm just seeing this. SEC teams are required to schedule at least one additional high-quality non-conference from the Atlantic Coast, Big 10, Big 12 conferences, or Notre Dame. Play one of these guys or play the Irish each season. So I think that we knew that was going to happen. The Crimson Tide are scheduled to open the 2026 season in Morgantown to play West Virginia. We've seen several games in these home and home, so to speak, these future opponents get canned. Yeah. But in some way, you can't just go schedule a bunch of cupcakes. And when you talk about guys like Nick Saban, there was a time where he was originally, I was looking at this just to make sure that I was correct, he initially did support the SEC moving to a 9-game schedule. And as they moved forward, that kind of shifted. And there was a kind of okay, I think he just got enough people in his ear to say, hey, we need your backing on this. Because, Nick Saban is a voice in college sports that certainly is significant. But interesting to see how this is all going to play out. So 9 SEC games, you got to play a P4 somewhere. 3 of those are going to be a permanent. And then, I mean, what all do TV contracts matter? Does the people who want the eyes of these games, do they have a say, or do they have the type of say where they're like the closed door type of say? I mean,
I think what's going to end up happening is not going the big news won't necessarily be the permanent ones. It'll be the way that the other 6 are structured, and the way that that rotating the other 6 games in the SEC, the other SEC teams you have to play. Yeah, sure. How that will be structured. You think it's going to be like a random? Is that like hey, you played these 6 this time, so you played these 6 next time, or however many people have that part? Would be interesting. Like if it goes a 2-year basis, like 2 years. 2 years on this 6-game rotation, and then the opposite 6 games, or is it completely rotating where you'll only play those 6 games? The 6 opponents will literally rotate over the course, and you'll play everybody over the course of what 8 years,
Sure,
or whatever
It'll be
going into it.
Yeah,
for
no
sure.
doubt. Speaking of Nick Saban and his former takes on the SEC schedule, it's funny how this is a guy who's no longer coaching full time. Of course, he's on the game day set, does a great job there, but his impact on college football is everlasting.
For sure.
Brent Key over at Georgia Tech, who's done some really, really nice things in his tenure there, former offensive line coach for Nick Saban at Alabama, just referenced Coach, and I think that several people referenced Coach, but let's take a listen to Brent Key just this week.
I told the team after practice the same thing I've said as the week is. Coach Saban used to tell us that more people die on the way down from Mount Everest than on the way up. And you can't relax. You can't relax. You have to be just as prepared, every single week. And there is no crescendo or top. I mean, look, our goals when we started the season were not to win Game 3 of the season. They weren't to win Game 4 of the season. They weren't to win Game 8 or 12. Our goals are a lot bigger than that. Our expectations internally are a lot bigger than that. As long as we keep our heads on the right place and stay focused, I think the other things will take care of themselves.
So obviously Georgia Tech just got the big upset win, or surprising win, we should say, at home against Clemson. They'll play Temple this week, so I'm sure Coach is vetting those questions of, hey, you get a breather before you go play Wake Forest and all the yada yada. And Temple and UMass, which school is which. But point being that Coach is saying, hey, keep maintaining the main thing. And Nick Saban is a guy who's certainly alluded to that a lot. And then we had a guy in the NFL also mention Nick Saban.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite way because obviously Georgia Tech coming off a big win, but Miami's coming off 2 horrible losses. They look really bad right now, but Saban's former wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, also channeling the coach.
Yeah, I don't really not too much like internet and stuff like that. I come from a cloth of like Bama. We don't listen to all that rat poison stuff that we call it back in the day. So I don't really be into all that. We're just trying to play the best ball that we can. Go out there and, compete at a high level, do our jobs, and get a win.
Man, it seems like Coach is still, he's still around in just different forms, different bodies, different roles all throughout the different leagues
Whether
as well.
you're up or down, you can use some Sabanisms in your life.
I'm up and down all the time, and I use Sabanisms all the time, so I'm a perfect example of that. There's no doubt about it. But Jalen Waddle obviously was a great guy who not only a receiver, but, return man also for Alabama, and, rat poison.
Rat poison.
They say that like every single John Summerall says that. John Summerall didn't even coach for Nick Saban. Everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. If we can ever get Patrick drinking the Kool-Aid, then we're all going to be on board at some point. So, all right, guys, been a fun 2 hours. We will see you tomorrow.